Hi, my name is Shane Steinmetz. I'm forming a video to make a position on a drug called Finasteride, as well as to share a few other thoughts I have about hair loss and androgenic alopecia, also known as male pattern baldness. This video is particularly dedicated to YouTube user VVDV82, as we have been discussing this a little bit over a period of time. But I've decided that Finasteride is a treatment option worth exploring, primarily because I can see a problem from a mile away. And as you can clearly see here, this is not something that I would feel is caused by stress or something temporary. This is something that's been going on for a period of time. And there's a background story to this. It started out when I was 18 years old, working at McDonald's, and my new friend Sally made the remark to me, so when I brushed my hair back one day with my hand, "So you got like this receding bang line thing going on there, Shane?" Thanks, Sally. That led to the next 7 years of my life being scarred. No, just kidding. But anyway, it made me think that, maybe this is something I could be subjected to, because male pattern baldness is something that's genetic. I mean, there's a variety of causes. You could have thyroid issues, or you could be exposed to some unhealthy substance that causes acute hair loss. But I was noticing a pattern throughout time where I was gradually losing my hair. Now, I should also mention for the record that I've got metabolic syndrome and Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So I definitely do have some thyroid issues. I actually had them diagnosed about a year ago in the beginning of 2012, but chose not to treat because I thought it was something that I could avoid treating based off of my influence from other people, and simply work with by just watching my lifestyle and improving my diet and exercise habits, which obviously I haven't completely done just yet. But nevertheless, I did notice that I was continuing to lose my hair. And there was a period of time that even when I was getting regular exercise and eating pretty well, I noticed that there was a period of time where I was pulling out my hair like in large clumps. Now that's not normal, and that's not something that I would attribute to androgenic alopecia, because I know that with thyroid issues I've heard that the hair can come out in large clumps. But going back to the Finasteride issue for a moment, there seems to be quite a bit of controversy about it. For those who aren't aware of what the drug is, there's Finasteride 1 milligram, which is brand name Propecia. There's Finasteride 5 milligram, which is Proscar. Proscar is used to treat benign prostatic hyperplasia, which is enlarged prostate, typically seen in much older men. And then androgenic alopecia, as you may have gathered by now, is male pattern baldness. Finasteride works by inhibiting an enzyme called alpha-5 reductase, which converts testosterone into DHT, which I believe is dehydrotestosterone, or dihydrotestosterone. DHT is a more powerful androgen than testosterone. Apparently, the receptors throughout your body that are able to respond to it are a lot more sensitive to DHT than they are to testosterone. Although it should be noted that testosterone actually does have a large impact on muscle tissue. So other parts of your body may not be receptive to just straight up testosterone, but your muscles are. And one of my primary concerns when it came to taking a drug like Finasteride is, if I'm inhibiting my DHT, then I might be exposing other tissues in my body to the action of estrogen. Because another thing that happens with the testosterone, aside from converting into DHT, is you also see it convert into estrogen by aromatization, which is where an enzyme called aromatase, which comes mostly from fat cells, from what I understand, converts testosterone into estrogen. High levels of estrogen in men can produce undesirable effects. But just like testosterone in women, men do require some degree of estrogen in order to maintain their health, including their sex drive. So the primary concerns that we see with Finasteride is the claims that it can really harm one's sex drive. Depression is listed as a side effect. Gynecomastia is a possible side effect, possibly because of the aforementioned exposure to estrogen. I mean, DHT is an estrogen antagonist, so if DHT is binding to receptors, then estrogen probably can't go to those same receptors because DHT is occupying the same spot. So As far as the sex drive and depression goes, VVDV82's videos. I don't know what your name is, sir, but I tried looking it up on Google, and I see that somebody by that same exact name goes by Victor. So, don't know if that's your name, but, you know, if you make a video response to this, you're going to have to properly introduce me to you. But you stated in your videos, which I actually spent a degree of time watching the other night, that you basically described your genitalia as a numb piece of skin after having taken the medication for a period of time, only after about 3 or 4 weeks. You said that your sex drive increased quite a bit briefly, and then after having a high point, it came crashing down again. And of course, there are other users on YouTube that seem to be complaining of the same thing. There seems to be some sort of war going on here between anti-finasteride users and those who either just want to disagree with you for the sake of disagreeing, or those who feel that all of your comments and your experiences are hype. I really can't tell at this point. I'm starting to get a little idea of both sides. Now, I know that the major website that is anti-finasteride is propeciahelp.com, dedicated to people who are experiencing the so-called post-finasteride syndrome. And please don't take me saying so-called to mean that I'm automatically taking a side. I have an open mind about this. Just started taking the medication as of 1 hour ago. So if I find that I'm also experiencing the same issues, then I will pursue the truth just as adamantly. But I will say that a few impressions that I am getting from the crossfire here is, obviously this is a very important issue to you. Your sex drive means a lot to you. I can't possibly relate in that area because all the side effects that are mentioned when it comes to finasteride, like low libido, erectile dysfunction, depression, I hate to say it, but I've already got all those things. So taking the drug is not going to harm me anymore. You know, suicidal thoughts, I can only assume that perhaps there's a relationship between the alleged decrease in libido and sex drive and depression. Because obviously if someone has a very active and happy sex life and they're developing relationships with people, and then all of a sudden they lose their ability to maintain an erection or remain aroused, and then their relationships suffer as a result, I guess that would drive someone to be suicidal. So perhaps in my case, it's less of a risk to me because I don't really have a lot to lose to begin with. You know, and I'm not feeling particularly suicidal at this moment. No, I really don't in general. So I don't think it's a problem at this point. I think it's worth trying. And to the main topic of androgenic alopecia, it's not the fact that I'm losing my hair that bothers me. What bothers me is the fact that if I don't do anything about it, then the opportunity for resolving the problem will have passed. So that's something that I've been thinking about pretty carefully. I mean, the truth is, you get one chance to resolve this. Once the hair follicles have shrunken away and they're dead, you're not going to bring them back. And I had this discussion with my dermatologist briefly. Because, you know, I mentioned the androgenic alopecia, and the first thing that he did, you know, while I was practically mid-sentence, was reach for a pen and write down Proscar on a prescription slip. Well, I brought up some of the points that you mentioned in your video, and he said, well, golly, if you're going to be looking for side effects, you're probably going to experience them, and I'm kind of scared prescribing this to you at this point. I said, well, no, I've heard both sides, and you know, I'm aware of what risks I may be taking, and I fully accept them, because in this particular case, I find that the benefits exceed the risks. Every prescription that you take, whether it's for hair loss, high cholesterol, blood pressure, you know, diabetes, as we see with the case of metformin, every prescription that you take has some degree of risk and some degree of toxicity to it. And you have to decide whether the potential benefits of it outweigh the risks. Well, I find myself thinking a lot about my hairline, and not just for the simple fact that I'm growing older and am stubborn, but the fact that there's something I could be doing about this. I don't like possibly permanently losing an opportunity because I failed to act. And I had this discussion with a general practitioner a few years back who said, well, there might be potential side effects. You know, gynecomastia. Well, I've already got some form of it. I'm pretty sure it's pseudo-gynecomastia because I don't believe it's the development of extra breast tissue. I think it's just fatty deposits, but You know, at this point, anything's possible. There are a few other lifestyle changes that I'm making on my own, like trying to develop a meal plan on a regular basis, you know, weeks at a time, that puts my caloric intake between 1,200 and 1,700 calories. But of course, that's outside the scope of this video. The main point is that it's something that I've decided is worth taking. If I find that I'm getting negative side effects from it, or if I find that so I've had other effects from it, which some people have claimed that their sex drive has actually increased from having taken this drug. Whether or not they're proponents hired by Merck to say good things about the drug or actual users is beyond me. But nonetheless, if I actually do have any major insights to offer on this, I will be posting follow-ups. As far as this little war that seems to be going on between you guys, my dermatologist said, well, all the people that are complaining about it, they're hired, they're influenced by the lawyers to make these kinds of comments because they just want to make money. They want to find something. Basically, he gave me the impression that he was saying people against the drug are trying to invent reasons or exaggerate reasons for lawsuits, which, as you know, in America, well, obviously you're Australia. In America, lawsuits, torts are a cash cow for a lot of people. And then, of course, the people who claim to be the victims point at the drug companies and just point them out as big pharmaceutical companies that try to downplay the serious side effects of what's being experienced by the drug, and they're just evil corporations trying to make money. So you have to pardon me for continuously trying to crack my neck. It is 3 a.m., so I am getting a little bit tired. But since I started my treatment, I thought I would make my opening statement while I record my progress. My parents are very anti-drug, very anti-doctor, anti-pharmaceutical. So I can just hear the voice of my mother right now saying, why don't you try saw palmetto? As you say in your videos, sir. You say that saw palmetto and other natural supplements could be a good alternative to Propecia. I just got done looking at a young man's video. Actually, I think I still have him in my history here, where he claims that he has maintained a full head of hair by eating all natural foods and taking supplements. Well, my only issue I hate to call him out during this video because, I barely know the guy. He posts a lot of videos. We can discuss it privately or bring it up later after I've done more research. But this particular gentleman, who doesn't look like he's much older than 19, posted a year ago saying that through natural foods and supplements, he's managed to stave off alopecia. Well, looking at his most recent videos, I see that he's wearing a hat in all of them, and his hairline looks thin in the few videos that he doesn't have the hat on. So my point is that there are some situations where supplements and natural remedies really are the best way to go, and I think that this can really have a lot of use when it comes to lifestyle-induced problems, like obesity. Thinking of what else? Capacity for oxygen, lungs, when it comes to smoking, changing what you do, what you eat, can really change your quality of life, and these are things that are under your control. But things like androgenic, well, actually, it's a valid term. Androgenic is an alternative way of saying that. Androgenic alopecia is not something that is entirely under control of your lifestyle. It's something that's genetic. It's caused by your hair follicles on the scalp being more sensitive to the action of DHT. Of course, that's all about the genetics, because there are some people that you see, even those who are overweight, so we can't just say it's metabolic syndrome. We see people who are overweight who have a full head of hair. And of course, it's because either the receptors aren't sensitive to it, or DHT just doesn't affect the follicles in those situations. In fact, from what I understand, in the case of hair transplants, often what you'll see is they'll take hair from the sides and then move them to the top and front because the hairs on the sides are resistant to DHT, or at least that's what I've heard. I don't know. I only have a high school diploma here, haven't completely done my research just yet, so I guess you could consider this bro science, but you can rest assured that I will be doing additional research in the subject and getting more experience from people as time goes on. I'll also be registering on a website, probably Hair Loss Talk or something like that, pretty soon, to share my experiences. This video is going to go up as one of the primary Kickstarters to it all. So if you're looking for some additional views, hopefully that'll benefit you. I know that you're having issues with people disliking your videos lately, which you dedicated a video to discussing the fact that people are disliking your videos. But I've actually, it just seems like a feud. On websites where hair loss is discussed, people from Propecia Help seem to be downplayed as fearmongers. I mean, if it's going to cause someone to commit suicide, or if there's permanent side effects from it, I just can't wonder if there's a pre-existing condition. I know that you're probably going to make an angry video response at this point saying, how dare I say that when you took it for only a brief period of time and was perfectly healthy before that point. But the truth is, it doesn't seem to be a majority of people from what little I can gather. So I really don't know. But then again, I'm not trying to take sides. I know that it already sounds like I'm biased. I'm just going to genuinely observe myself. Have a look at my test results for testosterone, DHT, estrogen, and there's a few other items here like glucose and insulin, but those were actually tested at the same time for a different purpose. As you can see, my testosterone and DHT, in the words of my endocrinologist, are on the low side. Estrogen is right on target at 22 pg, I think it's like picograms, I'm not sure, per milliliter. Basically, what I'm expecting from this is for the testosterone to increase briefly, because when the DHT is not, when the testosterone is when the, what am I trying to say, when the alpha 5 reductase enzyme is inhibited, less testosterone converts to DHT. So I'm probably going to have higher free testosterone. My main concern is whether or not that's going to get aromatized, and that's not a good thing. In fact, I'm in the works of trying to get an aromatase inhibitor in case something like that happens, because one thing that I will not continue tolerating while taking an A5R inhibitor is to have my enzyme levels go, or my estrogen levels go through the roof, because I'm not looking to increase my estrogen levels, which are already in a healthy range. I am looking to decrease my DHT, and if I get a little testosterone, a little extra surplus testosterone from that, then that's just fine. So hopefully I can do just fine with that. I'm going to be looking into Arimidex, Aromacin, and some other options that are available. And in fact, I seem to be getting some insights on that from bodybuilders. Not that I should be taking advice from people who use anabolic steroids, but they also have similar concerns, since the anabolic steroids raise their levels of testosterone, and if they don't use anti-estrogens at the same time, then a lot of that testosterone gets converted into estrogen, and now they have to worry about gynecomastia. So just thought I would finish on that note. I do appreciate your insights. I have enjoyed watching your videos, and I am still watching your videos, in fact, so I will continue to see what other observations you have to make. This particular video will continue to be open for commenting, so you are free to comment on my video. I don't know whether the same people who are after you for disliking your videos are going to come after me, but given the fact that my tone of voice seems to be more favorable to them than you, I imagine I'm probably not going to get very many dislikes, but we'll see where this goes. At the moment, I am taking 5 milligrams of finasteride and splitting it up to 4 different parts. My dermatologist tried to tell me to take half a pill every day. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, 5 milligrams is used to shrink your prostate. 1 milligram is used to stave off alopecia. So maybe I should take the dosage that's closer to helping my hair come back, not shrinking my prostate. Not that I want my prostate to be any smaller than it already is. But we'll see where this goes. In any event, please feel free to share your thoughts. It'll be a day or two, well, maybe I'll do it today, but I'm going to be creating an account on those websites pretty soon. I think it's like Hair Loss Talk and a few others, so we can get a mix of views and opinions on this issue as well. One thing that does kind of concern me is on PropeciaHelp.com, the website specifically says that it's not for people who are currently taking or who have stopped it without any persistent side effects. It's not really an open forum. It specifically only gathers people there who are having problems, which I can understand why you're doing that, since the amount of people having problems is said to be such a small minority of the overall populace taking the medication. But it just seems kind of odd to me that they would not create an open forum for people to debate the root cause of these problems or compare experiences among each other. So it just seems kind of slanted from that point of view. I guess on the flip side, on hair loss website forums, or you don't really see very many people demoting the use of finasteride, I suppose, because those forums are dedicated to things that will actually solve the problem, rather than the alleged consequences of the minority that have experienced these problems. So, in any event, I am going to go ahead and move on with my night. It's been nice talking to you. And please feel free to share your thoughts, and have a wonderful night.